Emily had just finished a grueling 12-hour shift at the hospital. She was walking briskly, her shoes clicking against the empty pavement, eager to reach her small apartment a few blocks away. The cool night air carried a sharp bite, forcing her to tug her coat tighter around her. As she turned the corner near a dimly lit street lamp, her steps froze. A young woman lay crumpled on the ground, half hidden in the shadows, as though the darkness itself had swallowed her. For a terrifying second, Emily thought the woman was dead. Her instincts kicked in, and she rushed over, kneeling down beside her. "Miss, can you hear me?" Emily's voice trembled slightly. No response. The girl's hair, long, chestnut brown, was sprawled across her pale face. Emily gently brushed it aside and pressed 2 fingers to her neck. Relief flooded her chest when she felt a faint but steady pulse. Still, her skin was icy cold, and her breathing was shallow, as if life itself was slipping away with every fragile exhale. Emily glanced around. No one. The streets were deserted. Her own phone battery had died earlier that evening, but she spotted the girl's purse lying a few feet away, spilled open from the fall. Amid scattered receipts and lipstick, a phone screen glowed faintly, its glass cracked. Emily picked it up. There was no lock code, no social media feeds open, just one number displayed prominently in recent calls, saved under the name Dad. Something inside her said this wasn't an ordinary situation. Still, she had no time to hesitate. She tapped the number, bringing the phone to her ear. "Hello," a deep, commanding voice answered, rich with authority, the kind that belonged to someone who rarely heard the word no. "Sir," Emily said quickly, her voice urgent. "Your daughter is lying unconscious on the street. I'm a nurse. She needs help, immediately." Silence. The kind of silence that makes your stomach twist. Then the voice returned, sharper this time, clipped. "Where is she?" Emily rattled off the street name, her words tumbling out. "I'll be there in minutes," he said, and the line went dead. Emily blinked, startled. Who was this man who didn't waste even a second asking questions? She returned her focus to the young woman, checking her breathing again, whispering softly as if the sound of her voice could anchor the girl to life. "Stay with me. Help is coming. Just hold on." Within 10 minutes, though it felt like hours, the distant roar of engines shattered the silence. A convoy of sleek black cars appeared, engines humming with precision. Behind them came an ambulance, its red lights spinning wildly, painting the buildings with streaks of urgency. Emily stood back, stunned. The cars screeched to a halt, doors flung open, and men in immaculate suits spilled out, scanning the street like security operatives on a mission. Their presence was overwhelming, their movements sharp and deliberate. And then, from the largest car, a tall man stepped out. His presence seemed to bend the air around him, tailored suit, silver cufflinks glinting under the streetlight, his face instantly recognizable. Emily had seen that face before, on the covers of Forbes and business magazines stacked in waiting rooms. He wasn't just some wealthy man, he was the man, one of the world's richest billionaires. His eyes fell on the girl, and in an instant, the polished mask of power cracked. He rushed forward, kneeling beside her, his voice breaking in raw panic. "Sophia," he cried, his hand trembling as it brushed her cheek. Emily stood frozen, realizing that the unconscious woman she had stumbled upon was no ordinary stranger. She had unknowingly called one of the most powerful men alive, and now, his entire empire seemed to be collapsing into this one fragile moment on a cold, deserted street. Paramedics rushed forward, expertly sliding a stretcher beside the unconscious Sophia. Monitors beeped, oxygen masks were fitted, and medical terms flew back and forth in clipped voices. But through it all, the billionaire stayed rooted at her side, his hand gripping hers with the kind of desperation that stripped away every layer of his carefully built image. He was no longer the mogul who moved global markets with a single decision. He was a father, terrified of losing the only person who mattered more than his fortune. His eyes, usually sharp and calculating, brimmed with fear. "Her blood pressure's low," one paramedic announced. "She's dehydrated and malnourished." The billionaire's face twisted with shock. "Malnourished? That's impossible," he snapped, almost offended by the word. But Emily, the nurse who had found Sophia, stepped closer. "It's not impossible," she said gently, her gaze steady. "Sometimes people run from everything they have because it feels like nothing they need." Her words seemed to cut through the chaos. For a moment, he looked at Emily, confusion and shame flickering across his face. He wanted to argue, to deny it, but deep down, he knew. As Sophia was lifted onto the stretcher, she stirred faintly, her lips parting in a weak whisper. "Dad." The sound broke him. He bent down, pressing his forehead against her hand, his voice cracking. "I'm here, Sophia. I'm right here." The ambulance doors swung open, and he climbed inside without hesitation. Emily followed at the paramedics' request, her medical expertise needed in case things worsened during the ride. Inside, the world shrank to the steady rhythm of Sophia's heartbeat on the monitor and the anxious eyes of a father who had spent years conquering everything, except his daughter's heart. At the hospital, Sophia was stabilized. Fluids coursed into her veins, color returned to her cheeks, and her breathing evened out. She drifted in and out of consciousness, her lashes fluttering like fragile wings. Each time, her father tightened his grip on her hand, as if sheer will could tether her to life. When she finally opened her eyes fully, her gaze locked on him. For the first time in years, she saw something she had longed for, not the stern figure who measured her worth in achievements and responsibilities, but a father stripped bare, terrified of losing her. "Why, Sophia?" he whispered hoarsely. "Why would you put yourself through this?" Tears welled in her eyes. Her voice was weak, but her words were heavy. "Because I was suffocating. I didn't want to be your legacy, Dad. I just wanted to be me." The truth hung in the sterile air, heavier than any silence. The billionaire's shoulders slumped, and for once, he had no answer. All his power, all his money, none of it could rewrite the years she had spent feeling unseen, unheard, unloved for who she truly was. Emily, standing quietly at the corner of the room, felt the weight of the moment. It wasn't medical equipment keeping Sophia alive now, it was the fragile thread of a bond between father and daughter, finally being acknowledged. The billionaire swallowed hard, his voice breaking. "Sophia, I don't care about the empire. I don't care about the name. I care about you. If I've made you feel like anything less, then I've failed as a father." Sophia blinked back tears, her lips trembling. It was the first time she had ever heard him admit failure, not in business, not in finance, but in the one role that truly mattered. Emily stepped forward quietly, adjusting Sophia's IV. She caught the billionaire's gaze. "Sometimes, sir, daughters don't need fortunes. They just need fathers." The words seemed to pierce him deeper than any boardroom critique ever could. He nodded slowly, his eyes misting. "You're right." In the days that followed, the world outside would continue to spin, stock prices would rise and fall, and headlines would speculate endlessly. But for the billionaire, time had narrowed to a single focus, rebuilding the bond with his daughter, one fragile step at a time. For Sophia, that night on the street marked more than a collapse, it marked a rebirth. For the first time, she wasn't the heiress, the symbol of an empire, or the daughter of a mogul. She was simply herself, and for the first time, her father finally saw her that way too.